Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very clear on the backside of the sun, and then the earth is located in the sun, the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Hello folks, I'm sorry about that. I should check this. I already know that AI knocks the audio down. I'm sorry about that. I want to welcome everybody here to the Emergency Management Associates program today. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I want to welcome everybody here and thank you for being here. Tonight, I'm going to talk about two subjects. First, I want to wish every woman that monitors this broadcast, or every man and family that monitors this broadcast, I want to wish you all a happy Mother's Day. I am sad in some ways and extremely happy in others. We're going to talk about two topics tonight. The first being something I'd rather not talk about, and my dad always told me, if you can't say something positive, don't say it at all. And I've been thinking about this all weekend long, and I can't keep my mouth shut. And some people have told me that's probably a good thing. Other people have told me that I ought to keep my mouth shut, but I'm not going to. Not tonight. For those of you who are here, who are on Social Security, or all of you who are already here and have some members of your family who are on Social Security, this is a heads up to all of you. The Biden administration, the Congress of the United States, has been spending, up and above, far up and above, to trillions of dollars up and above what we have in the U.S. Treasury. Folks, we keep giving money away to people that don't deserve it. We keep giving money away to people who owed us money before Mr. T got them to pay us back for many debts for many, many years, probably a quarter of a century at that point in time. Now these same countries owe us billions of dollars back for all the things that we have done to help, one, protect them, and two, to help them. Help them in many ways that we have done over the last 4 years and even close to a half century now. Over a half century. Folks, we are in extremely deep doo-doo. This country is nearly about to go under. By go under, I'm talking about this country not being able to pay its bills. Okay? The United States is almost not able to pay its bills now and in the future. Most countries are in the same boat. With everything politically that's gone on all over the world and in the United States, we've seen banks closing up. Sorry about that. We've seen bank closures, bank foreclosures. We've seen the major banks all over the world going under. It's only a mark on our history because people have shown that they don't care. That's where we're coming from tonight. Countries around the world don't care. Our country, many of our leaders here in the United States of America don't give a flying rat's frosty keister about any of us. And I have data to prove it, but we're not going to go through all that data tonight. But what I'm talking about is the United States faces a huge reality check starting June 1st this year. June 1st this year. Just over 2 weeks away. The United States of America will no longer be able to pay its bills unless Congress and this idiot that many people call the President of the United States, Mr. Joe Biden. Mr. Biden has refused, and I'm going to say this again, Mr. Biden has ultimately refused to take responsibility for this country and its debts. Mr. Biden, as of just about, I want to say, last week and even before that, he said that he will not allow Congress, either the House of Representatives or the United States Senate, to give him a walking paper which allows the United States to go deeper and deeper in debt without reducing any debt at all. Joe Biden doesn't want to pay the country's bills, and he doesn't care. Recently, the House of Representatives submitted a bill for authorization for United States spending. Joe Biden has already said that he will veto that bill. The Senate now has that very same bill. And they have just over 2 weeks to make any changes to it, and Joe Biden has just over 2 weeks to sign it to prevent the United States of America from going belly up. For the first time in the United States history, the history of the entire country, to not be able to pay its bills. And this is just an omen for the rest of the world. If the United States can't pay its bills, they don't have any more money. And with that said, no other country has any money either, because the United States has been supporting them. Without that, I'm going to tell you right now, approximately 75 million Americans will not have any money either. Social Security starts getting paid out on June 1st. I personally get my check on June 3rd. If the United States of America goes belly up June 1st, Social Security payments will not go out. Social Security payments may not get paid at all, and they may not get paid for a long time. What does that mean for many Americans? That means people like myself may have to be out on the street, living out on the street. Now, why? Because like all of you, each of us has to pay rent. Each of us has to pay our bills to keep the power on. Our landlords and mortgage companies will not take "I'm sorry" for an answer. They're not going to take "I'm sorry" for an answer and maybe I'll be able to pay you in 2 weeks, 2 months, or even 2 years. Most people will be evicted from their homes. Some people may also lose their jobs because they don't have a home to live in. That's a fact. This has happened before, during the Clinton administration. When I was a police officer, I worked for the government back during the Clinton administration. And I, for one, had no money when the United States no longer could pay the bills. I did not get a paycheck. My captain, who I care for, my captain who each of us in our precinct and shift loved as a father, he loaned us his personal money to get through the no payment from the U.S. government. He loaned me money to go to work, to put gas in my car, because the Clinton administration shut down the government. And that's about what is going to happen on June 1st. I know a lot of people are not going to be happy. Hacksaw says, "Poor stewards, public servant, serpent, S-E-R-P-E-N-T, serpent." And that's what these politicians are serpents. This is no accident. This was done on purpose. If you go listen to Glenn Beck and other people, they have said that this was coming. Now we're 2 weeks away from not having a job. 2 weeks away of not having any money come in. About a month and a half away from having no home to live in. That's exactly what many of us are facing, because there will be eviction proceedings started if we cannot pay our bills. Our power is going to be shut off. Fortunately, it is warm outside, at least in this part of the world. It is cold outside in many other areas. Now, why am I talking about this? We've been talking about emergency preparedness for a very, very long time. I have asked everybody to get a plan for an emergency, to write an emergency preparedness plan for any kind of emergency. Well, guess what, folks? Each and every one of us are about to face an emergency in our lives. This is it. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Have you thought about this kind of emergency happening in your lives, in your family's lives? Folks, one poet said it right. The former United States president said this: now is the time for the people to come to the aid of their country. Now is the time for all Americans to come to the aid of their country. Now is the time for all people around the world to come to the aid of their country. This is not just going to be a problem here in the United States. It's going to be a worldwide problem. If our country here And the U.S. cannot pay our bills, like I said before. Every other country around the world that depends on the United States is going to go belly up as well. This is not going to bode well. We are falling right in the hands of Agenda 2030. It's supposed to be Agenda 2020. They revised it to 2030 because the elites still did not have control of the masses. The pandemic changed that. They now know how to control the masses. And this is just one more step to that control. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbor, and family. Now is the time for each one of us to write an emergency preparedness plan. It doesn't matter specifically for what emergency. You need to write an emergency preparedness plan for all kinds of emergencies and disasters that you all will face in your own neck of the woods. You need to do it, and you need to do it now. We may not have another time. You need to write that preparedness plan now. You need to start saving your money now. If you can, help other people out as well. If you can't, make sure you have a plan on how you're going to spend your money. And you need to spend it very wisely. Very, very wisely. You need to have a plan. Number 2, we've talked about food storage. We talked about emergency survival food. Guess what, folks? The panic button has been pressed. It's now time to do it and to make it happen. Many of us don't have the money to do much of anything, and I realize that. I've been planning for quite some time on what I'm going to do during an emergency, and I am better off than most. I'm better off in my plan than most because I have a plan. I hope those of you that watch this program also have a plan. If you don't, you need to write one. You need to think about your food storage. What do you have in your pantry right now? What do you have hidden away inside your home right now? Do you have water? Do you have water supply in case your water is shut off? Do you have water in case you have to leave and you can no longer stay where you're at? Do you have water to survive? This is important. This is vital. We've been talking about this for a long time. Now it's time. Storm Rider says pressure can meats from your farmer's market. It's a lot safer than last year's. You're right. Farmers markets just opened last week here. I am advising all of you. I'm advising all of you. This is just my advice from someone who's been doing it for a long time. Check out those farmers markets. Check out your friends that have fresh food, freshly grown food that you can either can or you can freeze dry yourself or dry up yourself in your ovens. You need to really think about it. Do you have a pressure cooker? How about a camp stove? How about a stone iron device about that deep, about that big around, with a lid that you can bury in the ground on top and sit on top of coals in the ground? Okay? You can make great meals with that. Great meals with that. There's a lot of different things that you can do with that. I've got 2 of those. I've got camping equipment. I've asked everybody to think about this even just a couple weeks ago. Now it's time to go and do the things that we have been talking about. And I'm kidding you not. The word is out on the street. The word's all over the internet. You can go visit all kinds of different sites. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm not. Everyone, this is it. This is it. The time to act is now. We've seen earthquakes in recent days. We've reported on those earthquakes, literally all over the world. Here in California, here in the United States and California, that wasn't a 5.5 earthquake in Northern California. More like a 6.0. Came out as a 5.7. They downgraded to 5.4. Went back up to 5.5. The United States USGS denies it. They lie about it. We've proven it time and time and time again. We don't have much time left. There is a major earthquake going to hit California. It's going to happen. It might not happen tomorrow or the next day, but it's going to happen. Are you prepared for that? We have bad weather and tornadoes all over the central United States, from north to south and east. Tornadoes. Hurricane season is starting. One of the first storms has developed in the Atlantic Ocean. There's more to come. Now's the time to get everything going. Make it happen. Storm Rider says Japan's rocking lately too. Absolutely it is. The whole southwestern part of the Atlantic is rocking. We've seen earthquakes down in Australia. We've seen earthquakes over in Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji. Earthquakes going down into New Zealand, Indonesia, India, all over the Middle East, and all over Europe. And the preeminent worldwide seismological agency lies about everything. Earthquakes all over Europe, literally. Do we see the USGS talking about it? No. Earthquakes in Scandinavia. Rarely do they ever say word one about them. Earthquakes in Iceland. Rarely do they ever say anything about those. Rarely do they ever talk about earthquakes in Canada. Yet East and Western Canada are getting hit, and Northern Canada is getting hit. Alaska is getting hit. Alaska is going to have a major earthquake very soon as well. It's coming. The pneumatic fault, like I talked about the other day, the seismic energy there is gaining ground. Larger and larger earthquakes are hitting the pneumatic fault. Is the USGS saying anything about it? Not one darn thing. Things are coming off the walls, guys. Michael McKinney says Australia. Now that's a place where you seldom hear of quakes. USGS said nothing about it. Just Wednesday, they had two 2.6 earthquakes in Australia, southwestern Australia. USGS said nothing about it. About two and a half years ago, southwestern Australia had a 6.6 magnitude earthquake that did damage in southwestern Australia. Did USGS say anything about it then? Yes. Oh yes. The entire international news agencies had it all over their newspapers and all over digital news. It was well covered. There have been plenty of quakes everywhere. We've had several minor tremors in England and Ireland. More are coming. More are coming. Now, I'm not here necessarily to talk just about earthquakes. A disaster is about to hit all over the world. Wherever it might be, it's going to happen. World War III may be coming sooner than any of us would like to think about. Are we ready? Again, it boils down to three things. One, your emergency preparedness plan. On this channel right here that we're on tonight. In the title of our program, it says Emergency Preparedness Planning. You can go to that program and learn about emergency preparedness planning. Anytime you see the title Emergency Preparedness in the title of our program, that is a program to watch and to take notes and watch over and over and over again. I've given you the information on our website that's just in the program description right above this video tonight. In our website, if you go to the file sharing area, you will have all kinds of emergency preparedness information, and more is coming. Folks, now is the time to take action for yourselves. Demon Catman said something in the chat that I can't repeat on the air or they'll turn me off. But you people that are here in the chat that can see that, it's true. Things went boom in UKR. Okay? You need to know about it. We're talking about it. Things are happening, and it does not look good. That's why I came on the air tonight. I wanted to give all of you a heads up. Also, YouTube is still unsubscribing people. Please, folks, if you're here listening to my voice tonight and watching this program, please check your subscriptions and make sure you're still subscribed to Emergency Management Associates. This is going to become critical as things get worse. We will stay on the air as much as we possibly can to bring you up to date about situations that are happening. But first, okay, it looks like the signals come back. For a few seconds they turned us off. For a few seconds they turned us off. The signal went down to nothing. We're back up at 26 to 3,500 kilobytes. Folks, when they don't want us to talk, they shut us down. I'm trying to give you everything you need. Now's the time to act. And you need to act immediately to save yourselves. To save yourselves. Does anybody have any questions of me right now? Shining Star says, yes, Ron, not only being unsubscribed, but comments are being removed. That does not surprise me, and I'm sorry. I am not removing any comments from the comments on our programs. That's not me. Michael McKinney says he did not get a notification either. Check your notifications as well. When you subscribe to our program or resubscribe to our program, you need to click on something else. Click on that little bell icon. It's in a circle with a bell in it. Click on that. When you click on that bell icon, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. click on the word ALL, all. That way you should be notified when we come on the air, but be advised, they don't like us much, so they rarely notify people. Yes, I would love it if you guys would also leave a comment about our program after we go off the air. YouTube counts those also in the overall analytical factors, whether they're going to let anybody on YouTube see this program. Also, if you come on this program and immediately get off, that doesn't help you, because then you're not going to know what we talked about. You're not going to have any help from me on being prepared or knowing what's going on. Also, if you don't stay on the air through the end of the program, YouTube doesn't count that. And that's also an analytical factor, whether they let anybody else see this program. So far, for the most part, people have been staying on and watching at least 20 to 25 minutes of this program. For that, I'm very appreciative. I would love to get that factor up to 30 minutes, an hour, or even 2 hours if we stay on that long. But folks, this is only helpful for you, because I have things I need to talk about to get through to you, and if you're not there to listen to them or watch our program, then guess what? It doesn't matter, because our message is not getting out and people are not being prepared. That's the bottom line. If I didn't care, I would not be here. I have a lot of things that I personally could do in my own life, and I'm trying to do those too. But I take time out for all of you, to try to make you look good, try to make you even better than you have been, to make you happier and more productive, and your families happier as well, and even safer, by getting this information out to you. It's all up to you. I care, and I always will. But please, everyone, please take to heart everything I'm telling you. It's important. The government is about to shut down June 1st unless Dipstick BJ in the White House and Congress get together and put together a bill for the safety and sanctity of this country. Otherwise, we're screwed. Our military is screwed because they won't get paid, and they won't have the weapons to fight when things happen. We won't get paid. We won't be able to survive. We won't be able to pay our bills. Millions of people will be living on the street, out in the cold or the heat. It's going to happen all over the world because things go belly up here. The United States of America has been the food basket for the rest of the world. We've done it. We need to be faithful and do what we can do to save ourselves. Beth Wolf says, loyalty to Christ. That in and of itself is even not enough. Yes, I agree that you need to be loyal to Christ. But as the scriptures teach us, if we don't help ourselves, how do you expect Christ to help us? Faith without works is dead. That's what the scriptures tell us. And it tells us that in many other ways throughout the scriptures. It's plain and simple. Brothers and sisters, I'm serious about this. Make sure you do it. Highway Ryan says, I will let Ron know if trucking goes down. And yes, she has advised me of some trucking lines that have been taken off the road because the trucking lines are not given enough supplies to go out on the road and distribute those supplies to the consumers. Fact. This is it, guys. Shining Star says, I've been trying to recommend channels, but our communication is trying to be stopped. Oh yes. Many are trying to pass on warnings, but comments are being removed. Subscriptions are being removed. You're right. That's why it's important to check your subscriptions to this program even on an every other day basis, because that is how often this program gets removed from you, from me. You need to have them, guys. Catherine Sigerson is talking about something to protect your face. You need to think about that as well. Catherine Sigerson is in the chat. She's coming from Canada. The Canadian government is in the same boat. The exact same boat. Most countries are. Things are getting worse. Richard Smith says, I've never lost my subscription. That's wonderful, Richard. That's awesome. I'm glad about that. But I'm seeing people be unsubscribed. Even I have been unsubscribed from my own program. Yes, I have to resubscribe to my own program, and I keep an eye on that all the time now. But they have even removed my own subscription to my own show. It's unreal. Beth Wolf says, God says, he who does not provide for his family is worse than an infidel. You heard it there first, guys. That's true. Nathan Hester says, toilet paper will be the first gone. If you guys thought that TP was in short supply during this last pandemic, guess what? You're in for a huge rude awakening when everything gets cut off. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad. Okay? Michael McKinney told Highway Runner, if trucking goes down, the whole nation will suffer. If trucking goes down, the whole world will suffer. Fact. Fact. If trucking goes down, who's going to pick up product at the ports? Who's going to take product to port to go take to other countries? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Are you prepared for the worst? It's going to hit. It's a matter of time. I saw the writing on the wall when the banks started having problems. When those first 4 or 5 banks went down, that was the beginning. The handwriting was clear on the wall. You could read it. You need to make sure that you have what you need, because things are going to get really bad. And if the government isn't bad enough, guess what? They're already starting to monitor our money digitally. Some places already have been accessed by the government. Big Brother knows what we have in our bank. And if they don't want us to pay a bill, we won't be able to pay a bill. Or if they don't want us to have something, guess what? No matter what we have in the bank, we won't be able to use it. They will dictate what we can and what we can't have. That's what it's looking like. Kimberly Hopkins says, I suggest stocking up on water, jugs of water. I agree. I completely agree. If you don't have water, life is going to be very, very bad. You need at least 1 gallon of water per person per day to survive. I've got water here in my house to flush toilets, to wash with. I've got water in my house for my dogs to drink and for us to drink here. We will use it. Lama's Life says, plan on how to cook without drawing people by the aroma. True. I like making bread. Look out for me. Now guys, this is a program that I didn't even want to talk about. Richard Smith says, undercover networks will be the key for surviving. I agree. All these things are what we need to work on. And I mean to work on immediately. Immediately, if not sooner. Okay? This is it. This is it. Also, friends, neighbors, and family, a couple more things before I go on here. Please give us a thumbs up before you leave today. Thumbs up are one of the many analytical factors that YouTube uses to see if we are worthy for YouTube to share a program to other people. Just one. Also, make sure you're subscribed. If not, make sure you are subscribed. Subscribe and hit that little bell icon to make sure you get notified when we come on the air. Please, folks, please check our program. If you have not seen our program for a while, go back and watch the programs you have missed. Okay? Watch the programs you have missed. Okay? This is important. Hey, Kim Hopkins, we love you. Appreciate you. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know I've talked fast. I've delivered some hard food. But that's Swedish. I've delivered some hard news that's going to be hard to swallow. But even on a Sunday, sometimes we have things that are a little hard to swallow. Please, folks, do this. This is absolutely of necessity. Aubrey, you say you're late. Please go back and check our program from the beginning after we leave. I'm not going to repeat everything again. You need to prepare everybody. Everybody needs to. Catherine Sigurdsson said, prepare food to just add water, called survival food, like this. Survival food. This is a 72-hour kit. This is a 72-hour kit for just one person. But guess what? Usually, even any one of these meals can be split into two for two people. Or the meals can be split for another meal. That's how much food there is here. There's food, there's drinks, there's also snacks in here for 72 hours. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. Okay? Let me show you this. On the back of these, it has a telephone number. It talks all about what's in here. Okay? The 72-hour kit is a great way to start protecting yourself in a food crisis. For true peace of mind and security against a long-term emergency, you're going to need more. Enough food to shield you from the very dangers of dangerous and lengthy supply line problems. Now is the best time to upgrade our best-selling 3-month survival food kit. This is from 4 Patriots. Okay? Survival food kits. And you'll get a special new customer price and free shipping. You'll also get 3 free 72-hour kits and a specially selected package of bonus items, just for taking the next step to protect yourself and your family. The absolute bare minimum food supply you need to have on hand is 72 hours worth of food. But in a crisis, natural or man-made, it could last much longer than 72 hours. Upgrade now to get your free bonus kits and the security of knowing that you are protected. The telephone number for Patriots Foods is 800-607-0943. 800-607-0943. This is essential for you. Okay? Yes, there are other food kits. Yes, there are other foods that are nutritious and good. I'm not putting any of them down. I just happen to have 4 Patriots here. I have a few other 72-hour kits that I've gotten elsewhere too, because I've tested the product. It's good. Okay? Richard Smith says 3 to 4 years of food would be all right. You're right, it would be. Okay? Catherine Sigurdsson said you can cook on a candle if you have to. Yes, those little tea candles, they put out a lot of heat, and they have been made specifically to be able to cook and heat with. Be careful. Be very careful. Put something metal such as a lid or something else to help contain possibly any of the wax that melts. Okay? But it's a great way to heat your house. It's also a great way to heat food. If you use them to heat your house, keep a window cracked to let out any CO2 gas, carbon dioxide gas that would come from the burning of the candle. That way you're not going to have problems yourself. Okay? Catherine Sigurdsson says in an empty soup can. That's one thing. That's one way. In my survival kits that I have here, I have two cook kits, pretty good sized cook kits for emergencies. Okay, that's what I have. Okay, there's a million ways to do this. Please make sure you are prepared. That's all I can say about that. Now, I have something else that I want to talk about, and that's Mother's Day. This is a picture of my mother back in the 80s. My mother passed away from cancer September 1st, 1991. She was a great mother. Everyone loved my mother. I loved my mother. All of us children loved our mother. Our father loved our mother. She was a great inspiration to hundreds, if not thousands of other people. When we had her funeral, we were planning on having it in the church chapel where she and my father went to church. Because of the overwhelming love and support that my family saw, we had to move her funeral to a church about 3/4 of a mile down the street, a bigger chapel, and a bigger overflow from the chapel to handle people that came to my mother's funeral. Police officers from my precinct came to my mother's funeral. My captain and my partner came to pay their respects to my mother. As it turns out, we needed help to escort my mother and our friends to the cemetery procession. The off-duty cops from the funeral home asked for help. So my captain got on the phone and arranged for friends of ours from our department to go to our police station and pick up cars and come to the funeral. for my mother. My captain made another call to the local sheriff's office in Poway, California, and they sent up sheriff's deputies to help escort the procession to the cemetery. And I have paid my respects to them as well over the years. Law enforcement has been some of my best friends who've loved and supported me as I have loved and supported them. And they supported my mother and our family, which we are extremely grateful for. My mother was a wonderful woman. She shared her talents with millions of people over the years, and I'm saying millions, in various areas of the United States that she visited. She was a great help to a lot of people. My parents in the late 70s and early 80s started doing preparedness dinners for their church in Poway, California, of which hundreds of people took part. They did preparedness dinners where my mother and my father, my dad's brother and his wife, who wrote a cookbook on wheat cooking, told about what they had in that wheat cookbook and how to use wheat for food storage. How to prepare wheat without anybody even knowing that it was not real meat. Yes, we had wheat chili, and nobody could tell the difference whether it was real hamburger or sausage or wheat that had been flavored by bouillon. Wheat chili was awesome, as well as other things that my parents and others had in their food storage. We had those food storage dinners at least once or twice a year. And we did those dinners all over San Diego County. My mother and father were awesome. They were real jewels to our community. They showed love and compassion for their community members and our family over the years. Wonderful, wonderful people. And I know many of you have mothers and fathers that are the same way. And I give thanks to all of your folks, your parents and your mothers, on this wonderful Mother's Day. My mother and father were real jewels. My mother was just like any other mother. She was fantastic. She lived up to the title of mother. She went to many family parties for our wives and many parties for our brothers throughout the years. Whether she had the time or not, she made the time. She was a jewel. When my father was in the Navy, she came down from Idaho, where my father had made their home, to meet my father's ship in San Diego. Here's a picture of her waiting with a friend of hers for my father's ship to come in off the sea. A wonderful lady. Here is a picture of my mother as a teenager. She was in her late teens and she was engaged to my father. A wonderful lady. She was happy. She was happy in her family. She had a wonderful mother as well, who was also a wonderful grandmother. Her mother even loved me. My grandfather loved me, her stepfather, my mother's stepfather. There was stories of my grandfather Frank Foley, with root beer in his refrigerator that he would not even share with the other siblings. He wouldn't share with my father. That root beer is for Ron. Nobody can touch it but me and Ron. And I remember one time when I was hard at work, and he asked me to step by or come by from my office on my way home, which I did. My grandfather wanted me to come over and just chat, and that's all we did. We chat and drank A&W root beer. It was the best. A chat with my grandfather and a can of root beer. When I was young, growing up in Idaho, we used to stop by and pick up a jug of A&W root beer and take it home so we could have root beer floats. That was a treat for our family. Even years later, at a family reunion, one of the families in our family, not my particular family, but one of my cousins' families, brought, well, actually several cousins brought several jugs of ice cream, homemade ice cream, to the family reunion. And we got to have floats. Wonderful homemade ice cream floats. This is something my mother and father started a long time ago. There was an area Sunday when after church, all of our parents, our aunts and uncles, brought all of their children to my father's mother's house, to their grandmother's house. Our grandfather died before I was even born. He was a railroad man in Pocatello, Idaho. He was a blacksmith for the railroad, Union Pacific Railroad. And he died in the railroad yard. He died, he cut himself in the railroad yard and bled to death in the railroad yard. But even after his death, all of their children came to be with my grandmother every Sunday. And we had a little family get-together every Sunday. Always. Always. When we moved to different parts of the country and around the world, we made a habit to still get together for family reunions. And my mother and several of the other aunts made sure that everybody in the family knew about it. My dad had 10 other brothers and sisters, and their wives and husbands and cousins would make a trip specially to be together as a family to support our grandmother and the other mothers. We grew to love our extended family. My mother was a great example of this. She loved each and every one of us. She made sure that we had the things that we needed. She went out of her way to make sure we had the things we needed. This is a picture of her in front of their home in Poway, California. I think that she must have just come home from church when my father took this picture of her. What a lovely lady she was. Now, folks, I have never done a program like this ever. So you guys are getting the full bill. I wanted to do this especially for all of you mothers. I wanted you to get to know my mother and who she was. When I was a young man in my teenage years, the church that we went to every year had what they called a gold and green ball, where all of us could go and dance for 3 or 4 hours at a time on a Saturday, and we get together. And we decided, my then girlfriend and I decided that we wanted to take our parents on a date. Her parents had been divorced, and so we invited her mother to join us. Her mother is not pictured in this picture, but we took my parents on a triple date, a double triple date, whatever you want to call it, to this Golden Green Ball. As you can tell in this picture, my dad still had a bit of hair. What little bit of hair he had here, he combed forward to make sure it looked like he had a lot more hair than he did. But even there, I believe he was in his 40s, early 40s. He had some hair. I'm the only male member of our family that has any hair today. But here is a picture of my parents on that special night where we took our parents to eat. Yeah, we took them to dinner that night. And then we brought them to this dance. We all had a great time. Another example of how great and how much we loved our mothers. Here's another picture of my parents on the day they were married. They were married in Idaho Falls, and I wasn't even a gleam in my father or mother's eyes. They were happy. They were happy all their lives. Yes, as parents do, and each and every one of us do. We have our disagreements. We have different things that we don't agree on. But one thing we come together to agree on is our love for our families. That is first and foremost in our lives. Yes, I'm sharing a little bit about my family with you. Before my mother died, let me show you this first. My mother loved having her grandchildren around her. It was not every day, but at least every weekend. My parents would invite us to bring our children to their home where we could have a meal with them, with my parents. And here's a picture of my mother in the kitchen with two of our granddaughters. At one point in time, I think I may even have the picture somewhere, of my mother in the kitchen, and I believe my youngest daughter right there, her name's Melissa. She's now married and has children of her own. But Melissa was up standing on a chair helping my mother bake cookies, put together ingredients for cookies. My youngest son was a baby in diapers. We had him sitting there in that swing of sorts, standing there bobbing up and down in the middle of a doorway. But this was my mother's favorite thing in life, to have her grandchildren there to love and for them to support her as well. My mother loved that. That was a thrill every weekend, to have her grandchildren, my brothers and sisters' kids. I have pictures of that. One of the things before my mother passed away, my mother never got to go to Hawaii. So my father took her on a trip to Oahu, Honolulu, Hawaii. They went to a show where Jim Nabors performed, and they set my mother up to meet Jim Nabors and have Jim Nabors sing to my mother. It was a favorite thing for my mother to have met Jim Nabors. At that time in history, my parents loved Jim Nabors. They loved being there in Hawaii and loving each other and enjoying Hawaii. My dad had been there in the Navy, and this was my mother's first time having to go to Hawaii. She loved it. They had a great time. Shortly after that, my mother could not get away. My mother became sick with cancer. A great big huge tumor in the bile duct between her liver and her gallbladder. Her doctor committed malpractice and should have removed it. And because he did not, he drilled through the tumor for my mother to be able to pass bile because it was backing up in her system and she was becoming jaundiced. Because he drilled through the tumor, 6 months later my mother was dead. She died September 1st, 1991. She was first buried in Poway, California at the cemetery. When my dad died December 15th, 2015. And yes, the date on this picture is wrong. I don't know why it says 2011. My father passed away December 15th, 2016. He wanted my mother's body to be exhumed and brought to Idaho to be buried next to him in the cemetery. My sister drove to California and brought my mother's casket back in the back of her minivan. And my mother's casket sat there for about 12 hours until, well, actually more than that, about 15 hours for the drive to Idaho. And she said, "Mom, you stink." That was her statement, "Mom, you stink." But they brought my mother back from California, and December 30th or 31st, I don't remember which it was, we buried my father and mother next to each other in the cemetery in Pocatello, Idaho. It was my wish that my father have full military rights, as he served a total of 35 years in the Navy and Navy Reserve. So I made sure, and it was not his wish. He did not want a military funeral. He didn't have a military funeral. But I made sure at the cemetery that he was buried with full military rights, as having served our country for 35 years. Well done, thou good faithful servant, and thank you for your service. My brother is over there, the second man from the right, and other family members behind him and to the sides of him. And you notice the military members, the Navy there? Those were Navy members that my dad worked with, that came to Pocatello to support my father. And then we buried the both of them in Pocatello. I only tell you this, folks, because my father loved our mother. He always wanted to be together with mother. And that's what he did. We loved them. We honored them. I want to tell my mother, Happy Mother's Day. We love you, and we're looking forward to seeing you again. We can't wait, because they are there preparing a way for the rest of us to be with them in our Heavenly Father's kingdom. Now, folks, this was hard. This was extremely hard for me. There's one more thing that I want to show you tonight before we end this program. I think this is important for me to show you. So I'm going to show it to you right now. I don't know where this came from, but I want to show it to you. Oh, darn it. I'm sorry, this isn't the one. Let me see if I have another picture. Darn it, darn it, darn it. I want to show you something special. And that's why I'm going through this now, to make sure I can show it to you. I've always wanted to have things that I could be showing you. And this is just one of them. Okay, I think I know how to do this. I hope I do this right. Okay, I'm getting it. I'm just grateful that I have all of you with me, because I care about you. I really love and care about each and every one of you. This is it. This is what I want to share with you. This is a Mother's Day blessing, a prayer. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. Mother's Day blessing, a prayer. Heavenly Father, I speak this prayer to you now in gratitude and praise for the gift of mothers. My mother, those of my friends, my relatives, those that we may never know, all mothers. Thank you for the role they play in the family unit. Thank you for their teachings, their wisdom, their patience, their understanding. Thank you for the physical, emotional, and spiritual gifts they possess. I pray that you help mothers all across this world to be a blessing upon their children, whether delivering affirmations or discipline. I pray that you help every word and action to be done in love. And I pray that children throughout the world would take time to honor their mothers, that you would show them how to uniquely do so. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. That is a prayer to all the mothers of the world and all of you tonight. I thank you for being the mothers and the sisters that you are. We love you, brothers and sisters. We love all of you mothers. And God bless you for the service that you've given us all these years, and the service you've given your mother, your family, your children, and your mothers. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. We love you. We just wanted to give you this blessing tonight. I wanted to deliver the other information beforehand, because otherwise it would have messed up this entire celebration of Mother's Day that I wanted to share with you. May God bless us this night to always honor our mothers from this day forward, and hopefully we already have. God bless you. May God be with you. May God be with you this day and always. That's my prayer for each one of us. God be with you till we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Have a good night, brothers and sisters. Happy Sabbath. We will see you soon. It's not working. I'll be darned. That's a first. That's a first.